All right, so we talked about a while loop and a do while loop. Now let's look at for loops. For loops are a little bit more complex, but they are used a lot. Okay, so this is when I don't want something to run until a condition is no longer true. This is where maybe I want it to run a specific number of times. So you always start it with a for, and then this is initializing an index, and then I have to put a semicolon, a boolean, a conditional, and then I need my iterator. Or so I'm going to increment or decrement. Actually, I'm just going to call it iterator. So how I want to go up or down. And then I have my brackets, and this is code to execute. Okay, so it's a little bit more. Let's see what I mean in code. So let's go ahead and copy this and go back. So let's comment out. Okay, let's comment out. And now, when you are doing any type of loop, counting for computers always starts at 0. They always start at 0. So you have to be mindful of that. So if I want to use a for loop, so let's say that I just want to print hello world 5 times. So I have to and let's paste that code. We need to initialize an index. So it can really be any variable. So usually you'll end up seeing as I, j, k for running a for loop. But it doesn't have to be, your I could be number, doesn't matter. But you give it its starting point. So my starting point is 0. And now I'm at a conditional, so I want I to go until it reaches, let's say 5 times. Now if I think I'm starting at 0, 0 is my first time, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. That is a total of 5 times that it's run. Then I would become 1 greater, so it would become 5. 5 is not less than 5, so it would boot me out. And then I have to have my iterator. So this could be where I is incrementing up by 1. And then I can run the code. So if I was running this, system.out.println, and I'm doing hello world, this will print 5 times. Let's go ahead and see it. There it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. This is a specific number of times. You could end up having this 5 where it's not actually a number, but it is. Maybe it is something like a value that you're holding onto. So let's say that we're doing how many times or how many guesses that we want them to do in like a particular game. I could define that way at the top, and then if I am checking here, I can say, hey, as long as that I, let's say that is, well, let's just go ahead and do it. So if I declare, let's say int max tries, and I give it 10 as a value, and then instead of using I, because I said we could use anything else, I could call it tries. I started at 0, and then my I is going to be, as long as tries is less than or equal to the max tries, I am going to increment up tries once each time. And I can say tries, because now this is actually a variable I could use, but it only exists inside of this for loop. So I could say tries and I can print it out. Let's go ahead and run that. So it is running. It runs the 0 try, the first try, the second try, the third try, all the way to the 10th try. Okay, and I can, inside this code, as long as I'm inside these brackets, this is my code chunk that I want to choose to do. I can do a lot of things. This is where I could use modulus. What if I wanted the even numbers and the odd numbers to print something differently? So I could say if tries modulus 2 is equal to 0, okay? So if I divide whatever tries is by 2 and there is no remainder, then that would mean it would have to be an even number. Then I can print out, let's say, actually let's just copy this. Let's just call it even. And then if it's not, so this would be where I could use an else statement. Anything else would be an odd. Let's go ahead and run that. It's still going to go from 0 to 10, but now I can actually have it where it's modifying what I'm doing. So it's 0 try, 0 divided by 2 is still 0, so that's even. 1 divided by 2 is 1/2, that's odd. 2 divided by 2 is 0, so that's even. So on and so forth. 3 divided by 2 is 1 1/2, so that is odd. 4 divided by 2 is 2 with a remainder of 0, so that's even. So inside here, I am saying how many times I really want it to go and giving it a value that I'm starting at. I could start this at 5. It does not need to start at 0 for this. Once we start getting into arrays, though, you are going to end up having to play around with dealing with 0 as an index. So see, I started here at 5 and still running the same code. I could change my max tries to 20 and run it again, and now it's going to go from 5 to 20. Okay. I could choose, instead of doing tries is incrementing up here by 1, I could say tries is incrementing up plus 2. So that means that I'm going up by 2. So then this should make it so it's only doing odd ones since I'm starting at 5. So here, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19. I could have this where, you know, now I only want even ones. Now it's only printing the even ones. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do. Okay, this is a for loop. Remember, you have to initialize some type of index. That's what the first part is. And then you're putting a semicolon. Then you're doing a conditional, which has to return a Boolean value. And then you're iterating up. So you can increment, decrement. You can do it however you want. You could multiply. I could do tries times 2. Plus 1 divided by 3. And it's going to do that for each time that tries is going through. It's redoing a value, and it'll keep doing it until this ends up becoming no longer true, and then it's going to boot me out of the for loop. So the conditional now is really how many times it has done something, not a Boolean type value. All right.